Welcome back, everyone. In this video, we're going to cover everything you need to know about SharePoint lists. And I really mean everything. If you've ever opened SharePoint, clicked New List, and thought, okay, but what do all these options actually do? This video is for you. Before we create anything, we need to answer one very simple question. What is a SharePoint list? Because if you don't understand what a list really is, everything else in this video will feel confusing, no matter how many buttons I click. So let's slow down and explain this properly. A SharePoint list is a way to store information in a structured way inside Microsoft 365. You can compare it to a table. Each row is one item. Each column describes something about that item. For example, if you're tracking requests, one row could be one request. Columns could be things like title, status, requested by, or due date. So far, this probably sounds a bit like Excel, and that's where many people stop thinking. But here's the important difference. A SharePoint list doesn't just store values. It also stores information about those values. For example, who created the item when it was created, who last changed it, and who is allowed to see or edit it. This extra information is automatically added by SharePoint. You don't type it in, you don't manage it. SharePoint does it for you. This kind of information is often called metadata. Now, don't let that word scare you. Metadata simply means information about your information. Another key thing about SharePoint lists is that they are built for multiple people working at the same time. You don't lock the file, you don't overwrite each other's work, and you don't end up with 10 different versions, and multiple users can add or edit items. And finally, you can easily automate processes using Power Automate. Now let's dive into the practice and start at the very beginning. I'm on my SharePoint site. I click New, then List. SharePoint now opens this screen called How Would You Like to Start? And this is where many people already make their first mistake, because they just click the first option and move on. Instead of guessing, we're going to slow down and actually create a list using every option on this screen, one by one, so you can see exactly what SharePoint builds for you. We'll start with the most common option at the top, List. I click List, name it Training, and create it. What SharePoint gives us now is the classic list experience. Rows, columns, a title column, and a full table layout. This is the most flexible and powerful way to work with SharePoint lists. From here, I can add any column type, create multiple views, build automations, and connect Power Apps. If you're building things like requests, registrations, approvals, tracking systems, this is almost always the correct starting point. Now let's talk about columns, because this is where SharePoint lists either become amazing or a complete nightmare. To add a column, you click Add Column at the top. And every option you see there actually matters. So let's walk through them using a single example, a training requests list. First, single line of text. In our training requests list, we create a column called Training Title. This is where someone enters a short name like Power BI Fundamentals or Advanced Excel. This column only accepts plain text. There is no formatting, and there are no line breaks. It's the safest column type you have. If you're ever unsure which column to use, text usually won't hurt you. Next, multiple lines of text. Here we add a column called Training Motivation. This is where the requester explains why they want to follow this training and what they hope to learn. You can choose between plain text or rich text. Rich text allows formatting, but be careful. Formatted text can become annoying later when you start exporting data or building automations. Now let's look at number. In our list, we create a column called Estimated Cost. This is where someone enters the expected price of the training, for example, $750. Use number only for values that are truly numeric. If users shouldn't calculate with the value, it probably shouldn't be a number column. Next up is choice. We add a status column to track where the request is in the process. For example, it can be new, in review, approved, or rejected. Choice columns are powerful because they keep your data consistent, prevent spelling mistakes, and work extremely well with views and automation. Now let's move on to date and time. In the training request list, we add a preferred training date column. This allows the requester to indicate when they would like to follow the training. You can choose whether this column stores only a date or both a date and a time. And yes, SharePoint actually understands dates, which already puts it ahead of Excel. Next is yes or no. Here we create a column called mandatory training. If this is checked, it means the training is required for the employee's role. This column stores a simple true or false value. Simple, clean, and predictable. Now, one of the most important column types, person or group. In our example, we add a column called requested by. This allows us to select the employee who is requesting the training. This column doesn't store text. It stores a user object, which becomes very important later when you start working with automation and security. Next is lookup. We create a second list called departments, and then add a lookup column called department to the training requests list. This way, each training request is linked to a specific department like IT, HR, or finance. This is how you simulate relationships in SharePoint. It's powerful, but also one of the easiest ways to create a mess if you don't plan your structure properly. Then there's hyperlink or picture. In our list, we add a column called Training Provider Link. This contains a link to the external website where the training is offered. You can display it as a clickable link, which is perfect for quickly reviewing training details. Now that we have our columns, it's time to talk about how users actually see and work with this data. Let's start with views. A view is simply a way to look at your list data. It decides which columns are visible, in what order, and which records you see. When you open the training request list, you are already looking at a view. To modify a view, you open the View menu and choose Edit Current View. Here you can add or remove columns, change their order, and decide how the data is sorted or filtered. For example, we can update the view so that all requests with a status of approved appear at the top. Or we can hide columns that are only relevant for administrators. Views are powerful because they let different users see the same data in different ways without duplicating anything. Now let's talk about forms. A form is what you use to create or edit a single record. This is where users actually enter their data. When someone clicks New in the training request list, SharePoint opens the form. By default, it simply shows all columns underneath each other. To change the form, you open it and select Edit Form and then Edit Columns. Here you can choose which fields are visible, which ones are hidden, and in what order they appear. For example, we might move status lower on the form because users shouldn't set that themselves. Or we could place mandatory training near the top so it's immediately visible. Forms are all about guiding the user to enter the right information in the right order. Now let's bring everything together by creating a real example record. We click New in the training request list. For training title, we enter Power BI Fundamentals. In training motivation, we explain that the employee wants to improve reporting skills and build better dashboards. We set estimated cost to $750. For status, we leave it as New. For preferred training date, we select the 1st of June. For requested by, we select ourselves. And just like that, we save the record. This single item now uses every column type we created. It appears in the view, opens in the form, and becomes the foundation for workflows, approvals, and reporting later on. And this is exactly why good list design matters. Now let's go back one step. We return to the How would you like to start screen, where SharePoint asks how you want to create a new list. When you choose Form, you are not choosing different fields. You are choosing a different way of thinking. Instead of starting with a list and then designing the form, you start with the form itself. SharePoint then builds the list, the database, for you in the background. The important thing to understand is this: the columns are exactly the same as in a normal list. Single line of text is still text, a choice is still a choice, and a date is still a date. Nothing changes in the data model. Only the starting point changes. When you create a form, SharePoint immediately focuses on data input. You design questions instead of columns, but every question becomes a column behind the scenes. As you build the form, SharePoint automatically creates the underlying list. You don't see it yet, but the database is already there. And this is where the real power comes in. Once the form is ready, you can immediately share it with other people. You send them a link, just like with a Microsoft form. They open the form, fill in their answers, and click Submit. And every single response is stored directly as a new item in your SharePoint list. No copying, no exporting, no syncing. The form is just the front door. The SharePoint list is the database behind it. At any moment, you can open the list and see all responses as normal list items. You can create views, apply filters, start approvals, or build Power Automate flows. Exactly the same as with any other list. So this option is perfect when your main goal is collecting information from people. Let's go back once more to the How would you like to starting screen. We've looked at starting from a blank list, and we've looked at starting from a form. Now let's look at the next option. Gallery. When you choose Gallery, you're again not choosing different data types or a different database. You're choosing a different way to present and consume the data. With Gallery, the focus is not on rows and columns. The focus is on cards. Instead of seeing your data as a table, users see each item as a visual block. Think of tiles, cards, or panels that highlight key information. Just like with Form, SharePoint still creates a normal list in the background. The same columns exist. The same list database is used. Nothing changes in how the data is stored, only how it is shown. When you create a gallery, SharePoint asks you to pick which information should be visible on each card. You choose a title, supporting text, and optionally images or icons. Behind the scenes, these are still just columns in your list. You're simply deciding which ones deserve visual attention. Gallery views are especially useful when users need to scan information quickly. Let's go back once more to the How would you like to start screen. We've looked at starting from a list, a form, and a gallery. Now let's look at the next option, Calendar. When you choose Calendar, you are not creating a different kind of data. You are choosing a time-based way to view that data. Just like the other options, SharePoint still creates a normal list in the background. The same database exists. The same items exist. What changes is the default perspective. Instead of rows, forms, or cards, the calendar view places your items on a timeline. Days, weeks, or months become the main structure. When you create a calendar, SharePoint asks which date field should be used. Typically, this means a start date, and optionally, an end date. Behind the scenes, these are just date and time columns in your list. Nothing special happens to the data itself. Once the calendar is created, each item appears as a block on the calendar. Clicking that block opens the same form you would use in any list. This makes calendar lists ideal for anything that revolves around time. Think of training sessions, deadlines, events, or planned activities. Users don't need to read through rows to understand what's happening. They can simply look at the calendar and see when things are scheduled. And just like with other list experiences, everything else still works the same. You can switch to a table view. You can filter items. You can automate actions. You can secure data with permissions. So again, this is not a new database type. It's a different lens on the same data. Calendar is perfect when timing is the most important piece of information. When the question is not what exists, but when does it happen? You're still building a SharePoint list. You're just choosing to see it through time instead of rows. Let's go back one last time to the How would you like to start screen. We've now seen lists, forms, galleries, and calendars. The final option here is Board. When you choose Board, you're again not choosing a different database. You're choosing a workflow-oriented way to work with the same data. Just like all the other options, SharePoint creates a normal list in the background. The same columns exist. The same items exist. What changes is how you interact with those items. A board organizes items into columns, usually based on a choice field. Most commonly, that's something like status. Items appear as cards, and each card represents a single list item. You can drag cards from one column to another. Behind the scenes, nothing magical happens. Dragging a card simply updates the value of the underlying column in the list. So when you move a card from new to approved, you're just changing the status value. The list item stays the same. Only one field changes. This makes boards perfect for process-driven scenarios. Think of training requests moving from new to in review to approved and finally to completed. Instead of editing forms, users can update progress by simply dragging cards. That makes the experience faster and more intuitive. All those options we just talked about, form, gallery, calendar, and board, are not separate systems. They are not separate databases. There is always one SharePoint list underneath. One database, one set of columns, one set of items. The only difference is how that same data is presented. You can think of the list as the engine. And views like table, gallery, calendar, or board are just different dashboards on top of it. When you create a list starting from a form, gallery, calendar, or board, SharePoint simply creates a default view for you. The database is exactly the same as if you had started from a blank list. And here's the key part. You are not limited to the option you chose at the start. You can add all of these views to the same list. A single list can have a normal table view for administrators, a board view to track status and progress, a calendar view to show dates and planning, and a gallery view for a more visual overview. They all point to the same items. They all update the same data. Change something in one view, and it's immediately reflected in the others. So the "how would you like to start" question is not a commitment. It's just a shortcut. There are a few more options on the "how would you like to start" screen that we haven't covered yet. Let's look at them briefly because they all follow the same idea. First, import from Excel. This option is meant for situations where your data already exists. Maybe you've been tracking training requests in Excel, and now you want to move to SharePoint. When you import from Excel, SharePoint reads your file and creates a list for you. Each column in Excel becomes a column in the list. Each row becomes a list item. You don't get a perfect result automatically. You usually need to clean up column types, rename fields, and adjust views. But it's a fast way to turn an existing spreadsheet into a real database. Next is import from CSV. This works almost exactly the same as Excel. The difference is that CSV is just raw data, without formatting. It's commonly used when data comes from another system. Exports from applications, reports, or integrations often arrive as CSV files. SharePoint reads the structure, creates the list, and fills it with items. Again, the list is created for you, and you can refine it afterward. Then there's from existing list. This option is all about reuse. Instead of starting from scratch, you copy the structure of a list that already exists. The columns, views, and settings are reused. You can choose whether to copy only the structure or also include the data. This is extremely useful when you already have a good design and want to repeat it. Now here's the key takeaway. All of these options do the same thing in the end. They create a SharePoint list. Some options start from data. Some start from structure. Some start from experience. But they all lead to the same place. So when you see the "how would you like to start" screen, don't overthink it. Ask yourself one simple question. What do I already have? If you already have data, import it. If you already have a good design, reuse it. If you want to focus on input, presentation, or planning, start there. Because no matter how you begin, you're always building the same foundation. One list, one database, multiple ways to work with it. And that's the core idea behind SharePoint lists. Alright, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. If this was useful, give it a like, and consider subscribing for more content like this. See you next time.